Hey guys, and welcome back to Life in Christ. Today we're going to be doing another episode of the Women of the Bible. So this is episode 2, and we're going to be focusing on Esther and learning all about her. Before we begin, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. So who was Esther? Esther was a young Jewish girl who was raised by her cousin Mordecai after her parents died. The king sought for beautiful young virgins to be the new queen, and that included Esther. It also seemed like these girls didn't really have a say in whether they wanted to go. They were kind of just taken to the king's castle.
Haggai.
There's a man named Haggai who was a man of higher authority than her, but she obtained his favor and was supplied. So I'm looking right at my notes. She had 7 maidservants to look after her and her beauty needs, and received special beauty preparations. Esther was chosen to be queen after all these trials and challenges, and over a year of preparation. So she was chosen to be queen, and she hid that she was a Jew through all of this and continued to. Mordecai, who was Esther's cousin who basically raised her, heard 2 guards planning to assassinate the king. So Mordecai told the king through Esther. So he told Esther, and then Esther told the king, but she gave credit to Mordecai for basically saving the king's life. In chapter 3, we are introduced, in chapter 3 of Esther, by the way, this is where her story is found. In chapter 3, we are introduced to a man named Haman, who was full of pride and wanted success, and was promoted by the king to the highest authority. Mordecai refused to bow down to Haman, and that made him really angry. So once he found out that Mordecai was a Jew, he plotted to basically find a way to kill all Jews. So he persuaded the king to make a decree saying that on the 13th of Adar, which would be 11 months from then, that all the Jews would die. In chapter 4, Mordecai and Esther are trying to find a way together on how they could fix this, and decided that Esther would go reveal herself as a Jew before the king and ask for him to change the decree. So back then, approaching the king without a royal request was basically worthy of death if he didn't want you there. So she could either go and see the king without the request, and he could let her come in, or he could kill her. In chapter 4, verse 14 of Esther, the verse is, "If you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but your father's house will perish, and who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this." So Mordecai is basically saying, who knows, maybe I've become queen for this moment. And I actually have that journaled in my Bible up there. It says perhaps this is the time for which you were created. Esther sort of took a lead in all of this, and she says, "Go gather the Jews to be found in Susa," is that how you pronounce it? "And hold a fast on my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days or nights. And my young woman will fast, and as you do. And I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." So I think that's really amazing, because this is showing a lot of bravery. But she's like, well, if I die, I die, because she knows she's doing the right thing, and she knows that what she's doing could help a lot of people. So she is willing to sacrifice herself to help other people. Alright, I'm sorry if the angle just changed, or if it's more zoomed in or zoomed out, because my camera just died, but we're good now. So the plan is for Esther to hold a banquet that the king and Haman would be invited to, and while she's there, she says that the next banquet, which would be held the next day, she has a request for the king. So coming out of this banquet, Haman is completely drunk, and he sees Mordecai, and I'm pretty sure he plots to either hang him or have a stake built to impale him. I can't remember exactly which one. I'm trying to find it. But anyway, this was supposed to happen the next morning. Mordecai would be killed. So the next morning, Haman comes to the king for Mordecai's exile, But, so I'm like playing with my hair. But the night before, the king had been having the royal chronicles read to him. He heard and remembered about Mordecai saving his life, and Mordecai was to be honored publicly. So right here begins Haman's downfall. So Haman basically has to Mordecai's on a horse and got jewels and a fancy robe and all that, and Haman's parading him around everywhere, which obviously didn't make Haman very happy. At the second banquet Esther held, she informs the king that she is Jewish and that Haman has plotted to kill her along with all the Jews. So the king ordered for Haman to be killed that morning instead of Mordecai. The king cannot revoke a decree, so instead a counter decree was made saying that all Jews on the 13th of Adar, which is when they're supposed to be killed, can defend themselves and destroy their enemies. So through all of this, I want to point out that Esther completely trusted God, and
I kind of made a mistake in my last video.
If you remember me talking about Ruth, which you should watch that video, but I did make a mistake. I said that in that book, God's name was not mentioned at all, and I was wrong. This is the book, Esther is the book, where God is not mentioned at all, but you see his works fully throughout the book, because he can really just take anything that was intended for evil and that's from Satan and turn it into good. Right here in my notes in my Bible, I have written that Esther had been determined by God to become a solution for saving the Jews. Her attitude was so good that she was willing to give up her life to help her people. Another note I have in here for when she became queen, I have, how can a lowly Jew become a queen? Nothing is impossible for God. If God lifts it up, nothing can lower it. So what can we learn from Esther? We can learn that God is always in control, even when it doesn't feel like it, and that God is working behind the scenes. And also says that when we have faith, God can use us in so many amazing ways. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you guys are enjoying this series so far. I also want to point out I have a few vlogs coming out soon. Today I'm just having some technical difficulties with editing and stuff, but I'm really going to try to get some more vlogs out. So I'm really sorry for not posting for a while. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any ideas for the next women of this series, let me know in the comments.